that'd be cool.
Who's Johnny Bean?
My dad got really into the idea of coming up with a story to go with Cozz Coffee and create this fictional character, Johnny Beans. It's a whole little story. Should I read it? So, the legend of Johnny Beans. When people hear Johnny Beans speak, they can't put their finger on his accent. They say he carries a more in-depth conversation with his coffee beans than people. No one knows where he is from, but he has traveled the globe extensively to experience coffee from around the world. What we do know about him is that he has an exceptional knowledge of coffee roasting and their profiles. He walks with a walking stick, and sometimes he will sit down and start strumming his guitar. Johnny doesn't wear a watch. He feels that all you need to know is the coffee is for the morning and wine is for the evening. He is known to tell a woe. He likes to play billiards, and in his spare time, he likes to fish. When times were rough, he shined shoes for a living. Rumor has it that he stayed in New Jersey because he loved a good Taylor ham sandwich. Perhaps if you are fortunate enough, you will meet him one day. I'm John Cozz / Cozzarelli. I do Cozz Coffee. I went to school for architecture, and there was a cafe. I just started hanging out there more and more to the point where it was like I wasn't socializing with kids from my school. I was just hanging out with my friends who I knew outside of school from skateboarding. Just at the cafe they worked at, I would hang out till close all the time. And then after the shop closed, they started teaching me how to like pull shots and steam milk. One day I applied for a job there, and the owner, she was this like Polish lady who was like, "Oh, John Cozz, you're so smart. You know how to do everything. I thought you have no experience doing this." And she found out like a few months later that they had like secretly trained me after close for a few months. And I just kind of fell in love with like cafe culture and got into roasting. And I really saw the potential you could have in a career. This is my dad's first coffee roaster, marketed to roast your coffee and then brew it after. And then this is like, you could get like a week's worth of coffee at once. Somewhere along the lines, we decided to get this guy. And this is a 3-pound roaster. And once we got this was when I decided to start Cozz Coffee. You know, my parents are both come from like Italian families. My mom is always like making things from scratch. Her dad makes wine. They cure their own meats. My dad has been making wine for 20 years. He was a magician, a musician. He kind of approaches it in a similar way that I approach Cozz Coffee, where he designs all his own wine labels and he's making all of his own wine with his friends. And like, it's just become this thing that's so much more than just like a bottle of wine. Like each bottle has a story. I wanted to like just encapsulate that kind of DIY spirit into my company, make it more of an experience than just getting a bag of coffee. Like I wanted it to be a whole thing. So at least my family, you know, like just like doing things from scratch and just like knowing how things work. So it's like it's funny. It's just like DIY in a different way. The Tony Soprano DIY. The upstairs is like the crazy area I was talking about that. But these are the bags that the coffee comes in. They're like 150-pound bags. My dad really likes using them as decorations. He got really carried away with garbage picking or Facebook marketing furniture and then reupholstering it. What are these called? Ottomans. The Colombian bags are a little different. Like this material is a little softer, but the Colombian one is super rough. So this chair is kind of like unsittable. When I was building out the brand, I knew I wanted to incorporate different artists for each bag and kind of make like each bag be something you wanted to collect. So I've met a lot of people through playing music and just being a part of like the DIY music scene. It's kind of given me like this like unlimited resource of artists to, you know, collaborate with. I pulled inspiration from like, you know, releasing an album or announcing a show, and that's kind of how I've branded, you know, my coffee drops, making a big deal, hyping it up, and you get the cool artists to do the big bags, and you have your smaller ones that I kind of will just do myself. Some of my friends like are artists artists I can't afford, I guess, but they've like done bag artwork for me just for coffee, when that's a cool thing too. This is the raw coffee. This is what coffee looks like before you roast it. We're spilling the beans. But yeah, it's kind of like caramelizing an onion or, browning a steak. It's the same chemical reaction, the Maillard effect. That's just the application of heat to break down the natural sugars in things until they're sweetened. But yeah, let's see if I can get 3 pounds without having to go back. No, this is more than 3 pounds, I think. Fuck! Alright. Sometimes I get it, and it's like, I love that feeling when I get that right. So basically, the whole roast is like your starting temperature, your charge temperature, and then you're gonna lose a lot of heat because this is gonna cool down the drum, and then it's just climbing back up. And you just want to eventually stall that out until it gets to look like something like this. And you got your little trier here to sample what the coffee looks like. Just a big roaster thing. Whenever somebody stops by, you're like, hey, oh, look at this. Party trick, I wasn't expecting this to be as big of a thing as it's gotten so far. I had left my job I was working at, and I had applied to, 40, 50 jobs, just like blast sending out my resume. I hadn't heard back from any jobs really. So I was like, whatever, I'll just start this and see what happens. And the first week or first 2 days, I got 200 orders just from the gate. I was doing like 15, 16-hour days trying to screen print all the bags, the t-shirts in between roasts. I kind of was like, oh, I guess I could just make this my thing. I am surprised at the success I've had so far, but I'm also really appreciative of my community for, helping me out and just being a part of it. And like, I just want to just give back because I know that giving back is the best way to get people to come back in, Oh, Jesus. Yeah, this is not my normal. No, usually I'll drink my coffee at home before I come here. The water's in the bottom part down here, and it boils and the heat builds up, and the coffee is in this chamber here, and then it kind of passes through the coffee into this filter and filters out into there. I have... fuck! I forgot that was hot! Fuck!
You alright?
Yeah. Oh my God. This is the tricky part because you gotta get this to go down to the right temperature before you could start shaking. Otherwise, it's gonna explode, which I've been really into doing this because it's strong, but also just like creamy. Yeah, I'll give you the nice frothy one. Yeah, there you go. And then we'll get a little cinnamon on top. Well, I try to drink like 3 cups of coffee a day. Sometimes I drink a lot. The most I ever drank in one day was 1.5 gallons, or no, 2 gallons of coffee. It was 2 gallons of coffee. I don't know. I get bored. I just sit around and I'm working and just drinking coffee and just doing my thing. And I don't always notice how much I drink, but I definitely felt it like taking a toll on my body. So I had to limit myself and just I try to stick to 3 cups a day. 2 in the morning, 1 around like 3 or 5 o'clock. And that's it. That's all I do. But, you have your days.